Hello, and welcome to the Curious Chronicles channel. Today, we're going to tell you what would happen if planet Earth stopped rotating on its axis. Let's start with the fact that if Earth were to stop spinning, several catastrophic events would occur simultaneously, each capable of wiping out humanity on its own. The speed of Earth's rotation is 1,674 kilometers per hour. That's about 1,040 miles per hour. So, if it were to stop suddenly, everything not embedded in solid bedrock, animals, people, trees, buildings, would simply be swept off the planet's surface. Imagine driving a car at 1,500 kilometers per hour. That's about 930 miles per hour, and it suddenly stops. What would happen to you? Nothing good. Similarly, if the planet abruptly stopped spinning, your body, if you were near the equator, would continue moving eastward at 1,674 kilometers per hour. If you were closer to the poles, your movement would still be at a speed of 1,325 kilometers per hour. That's about 823 miles per hour, which is no less devastating. Since the minimum distance from the axis of rotation is at the poles, people living near the poles might survive. However, their luck wouldn't last long, as they would soon face unimaginably powerful storms. And since the oceans would continue rotating due to inertia, the rare surviving lucky ones would be engulfed by massive tsunamis. The wind speeds would be so high that the friction they create would instantly ignite fires across the entire planet. If anyone managed to survive this fiery chaos, they would only live long enough to be killed by massive volcanic eruptions. You see, Earth isn't solid. It's more like an orange with a thin peel. Beneath the crust lies liquid magma and a spinning core. If Earth stopped suddenly, this liquid interior would continue spinning, twisting, and tearing the crust apart in the process. The result would be catastrophic earthquakes, creating multi-kilometer fissures and volcanic eruptions in places where no one would ever expect them. The devastation would be so extreme that it's doubtful anything living would remain on the planet. As we mentioned at the start of the video, any one of these disasters caused by Earth's sudden stop would be enough to wipe out humanity. The terrifying part is that all of these catastrophes would strike simultaneously, making our chances of survival not just zero, but practically a negative number. In fact, things could potentially be even worse. If the planet were to stop suddenly, Earth's immense kinetic energy and the forces of inertia would tear it into tiny pieces. Astronauts in orbit would have the best view, witnessing a simultaneously beautiful and horrifying spectacle right before their own deaths. But now, let's imagine a different scenario. What if Earth didn't stop abruptly, but slowed down gradually? So gradually that we wouldn't be thrown off the surface? Let's assume the planet slows down over a couple of months, and eventually comes to a complete stop. What would happen then? Think this scenario would avoid catastrophic consequences. Think again. Days on Earth would stretch to 365 days long. One side of the planet would experience nearly 6 months of unrelenting sunlight and unbearable heat, while the other half would be plunged into a 6-month-long frozen night. Most animals and plants would be unable to adapt to these extreme and sudden changes, leading to mass extinctions. The distribution of land and oceans would shift dramatically. Without Earth's centrifugal force, water would no longer be pulled toward the equator. Calculations by scientists show that only one continent would remain, forming a continuous ring encircling Earth along the equator. 2 massive oceans would emerge, the northern and the southern. Nearly all European countries, including Russia, as well as Canada, the United States, and Argentina, would end up underwater. As you can see, Africa would be almost entirely spared from flooding. Do you think Africans would be lucky? Oh no! The inhabitants of Africa would suffer the most. While most of the populations in the submerged northern and southern countries would perish relatively quickly, African residents and refugees would gradually succumb to radiation. This is because as Earth stopped spinning, the rotation of its iron core at the planet's center would also come to a halt. Without this rotation, Earth's protective magnetic field would disappear. Without the magnetic field, solar radiation would penetrate the planet's surface, wiping out all life. Well, now, we have some bad news for you. Earth is indeed gradually slowing its rotation. Due to tidal forces between the planet and the moon, the length of a day increases by about 2 milliseconds every 100 years. In 140 million years, a day will last 25 hours. But we also have some good news for you. By the time Earth completely stops spinning, we humans will have long ceased to exist on this planet. In fact, it's unlikely Earth will stop spinning before it is consumed by the Sun. Approximately 5 billion years from now, our star will expand into a red giant, engulfing our planet as it grows in size. That's the reality of it. And if you think such a sudden stop is unrealistic and only possible in science fiction movies, you're about 99% correct. Theoretically, if a supermassive object, be it a black hole or an enormous star, were to approach the solar system, its gravitational pull could slow down or even stop the rotation of the planets.